Hey guys, so in this video, I want to talk about Qubic and the dirty underbelly, let's call it, of Qubic, or some FUD that could be brought up about Qubic, or some genuine concerns or negative thoughts about Qubic. Because, like any project, not everything is going to be good, and I want to start covering in more detail some of the things, some of the questions that people are raising. I don't necessarily agree with them all. I don't disagree with them all, so I want to cover them and discuss them a bit more in the channel. So this is going to be the first one of those videos that discusses this sort of stuff in detail. So let's get into it. Yeah, guys, a lot of what I'm going to cover in this video relates to Qubic and the quorum. And the Qubic quorum, I've done videos on this before, so I'm not going to go into massive detail on it. It works really well as a consensus model for the execution of transactions or smart contracts, and making ticks in Qubic actually occur in a decentralized manner with actual decentralized consensus. But then the bigger picture of the quorum is kind of like, I've got a House of Parliament here. It's kind of like the government of Qubic, and they decide on the direction that Qubic's going to take and what's going to happen with Qubic, and then they might oversee almost like a legal kind of or not a legal team, like a government team that pushes them in the right direction. And that government team, I think it's called QCS now, or QCB, I can't even remember. They used to be called STECO, and for a lot of this video, they will be called STECO. So all this kind of came out of, as you know, I was getting some flack off some people for some kind of, we call it scammer basically, because I was promoting Qubic and suggesting that I was dumping it, I guess, on people. And some of that kind of hit hard. Nobody likes to be called that sort of stuff, but and a lot of the stuff that was said just annoyed me anyway. But one comment that came in was from this guy Martok, and he said about my video that there wasn't much content in it, which, I think there was content in it anyway, but he said, why don't you use the skills that you've got, or whatever, reporting skills or whatever, that's questionable if I have any of those skills anyway, and to track the insider trading that happens in Qubic, the enormous salaries, some of which are paid without transparency, the horrendous sums of money that are shifted from A to B or paid for questionable things. The real reason why Valis, one of the main developers, left Qubic, Spelunker, this guy was one of the main criticizer of me, was one of the first members of Qubic, and was there long before us. And he said, I'll tell you why, because you're paid by Qubic and not interested in the truth, or am I wrong? Now, I actually think, he's, in a way, I guess he's getting a dig at me. I don't know. I'm not even sure if he is there. But I appreciate the last line is that, I'm not going to just report positive news because I'm paid by Qubic. I just want to report the news on Qubic in general. But a lot of times, it's just so easy to have a bias towards, this is exciting news, let's share this. And I guess I'm biased in that respect. But I want to be, not so biased in general with sharing some of these news. So I appreciate the comment. And I was like, okay, let's try and make more regular videos based on this stuff, based on that comment. And it was a good one. And I feel like that's a good way to comment a person, is with that sort of comment. So anyway, when it comes to, this is the people that are hired by Qubic at the moment. I think I'm missing a few, but it's most of the people hired. When it comes to salaries, I didn't even look to see what salaries these guys are getting paid. I mean, it's very hard to define if someone's getting paid too much or too little, especially in a blockchain crypto space, because you've got to look at, a lot of these are publicly docs. They can get a lot of flack. I mean, some are probably getting paid too much. Some are probably getting paid too little. It's really nuanced to say how much someone deserves to be paid. I mean, the best way I would do it is just go and look at how much one of these guys is getting paid, and then take someone in a similar position in a top, tech company, and see how the salaries match and judge, who's getting paid correctly. But it's tough. It's tough to do that. So for now, unless someone kind of hits me with something interesting in the future, I'm not going to go and talk about salaries. But some topics that are worth covering, and I've never discussed before, is things like the goodnight criticism, which was a post from Valis. Valis really not liked by the Qubic community, but a fair point that they make. So they kind of discussed, and you can pause if you want to see what they discussed here, but I'm not going to go into this in much detail, but talking about supply dynamics with Qubic, the state of Qubic's marketing, and there's some good points in here which are really interesting. But then they said that they were banned from the Qubic Discord, basically because, and they couldn't get any funding anymore from Qubic, basically because they had opposing views. And then this guy reached out to me, whose actual name is Lex, or online he was known as Lex in the Qubic main Discord, but he reached out to me in the Qubic ecosystem Discord, which is more of a decentralized Discord. And he said, he asked me said I could try and find out the exact reason for which foundational rules which is important for his ban. Just in case you don't know who I am, I'm Lex. He was a former Steco member, so he was actually on Steco. So you remember when we said that, like, quorum government appoint a team that, points the direction of Qubic and decides what Qubic are doing. Steco were that team, but anytime that they want to do anything, they have to ask for quorum approval before they can act. In terms of, how those, in terms of the funding that they receive. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of some of this stuff too much, but they would interact with the quorum anyway. And this guy was a former member of the main Qubic Discord, the official one, and a former computer operator. So he's actually a quorum member before, a miner since the first test phase. So what he said is that the quorum voted for the QCB I initiated. You can see for yourself what's happened since then. So basically what he's saying, or my understanding of what he's saying, is Steco, they're not called Steco anymore, but Steco, there was a vote by the quorum to have an overseeing committee that looked at what Steco was doing and made sure that they were appropriately acting. And then this guy Lex was going to be part of that, but then Steco managed to ban him completely from the Qubic official Discord, and he basically has no power, and there's still no oversight over Steco. Which seems to be true, but it's something that maybe I'll see what more information I can get in the future. But that is interesting. And in a decentralized system, you need to have checks and balances and see who's doing what, why they're doing it, are they acting appropriately, and we'll see how that goes in time. So this guy, I feel sorry for him. It sucks. I don't know what more there is to it. I asked for people to give me more information. Nobody gave me more information. If it does pop up, I'll share it with you in future. Then when it comes to Valis, there's this guy Splunker, who is the main voice for Valis. And what I found is, look, seems like a smart guy. Really pissed me off in some respects because he called me a scammer. As you can see, this is just a small chunk of post that he shared describing me, and I just feel like he came at this from the wrong angle. If he had genuine interest in kind of doing something, he could have came at me from an angle of trying to say to me, like that person Martek said originally, just trying to say, hey, how about sharing some of these things? And we could have went down that road, but instead of just going into scams, which is I completely refute that, and I just hate someone saying that. But anyway, that shit happens. But I feel like if this guy approached, so he got banned from the Qubic Discord, but I feel if he approached the Qubic Discord, the official Qubic Discord, like this, they're probably going to ban him, because it just puts people on the defensive so much, and he put me on the defensive so much straight away. I feel like he can approach things from a more neutral standpoint, and maybe he did originally, and maybe he's just sick of shit. I don't really know what the whole story is, but what I'm saying is I can see why some of the good work that Valis was doing was banned. I remember when Valis came on X at first, they talked very like this, and it just got on under everyone's skin so much because everyone felt attacked. I think they could have really came at it from a more neutral standpoint and won people over and influenced the whole community in that way. And here's the thing about the Qubic Discord is is it just decentralized? Is it, what is Qubic Discord meant to be? Is it meant to be just a place for getting shit done and people learning about the positive news for Qubic? Is it meant to be an area for a Qubic to kind of hit people with propaganda about what's working well? I don't know. I mean, it's not defined what it is. And then if we look at, luckily there's a new now Qubic Discord called the Qubic Ecosystem, which is an open Discord where people can come in and share what they think is good about Qubic, what they think is bad. There's a lot of interesting information in there. And I guess that's what a decentralized project is. There could be 100 Discords about this, and they could all share different information. And I guess it's about educating yourself. So I don't know, is it wrong for people to get barred from the Discord? I don't know, but those rules aren't clear. And as this guy Lex, or Karen XD said, what are the foundational rules? And I guess there is no foundational rules in place. And this is where we're getting into the nitty gritty of these things. So So Valis then had another good post here, and it was about good morning exit liquidity, and they were saying about Steko orchestrating pumps and dumps. Now, I think this is more nuanced than this, and I don't think it's fair to say pump and dump happened, but okay, sorry, I did not. This should have been the next slide. Let me just skip, and I'll go back to that one. But basically, without going into massive detail on this, they said that Qubic, when they were getting better listings on better exchanges, they started saying, when people come in, we have to start this cycle of getting people excited, coming in, pumping the price will keep pumping up, we'll put some money in, we'll keep it pumping, and it's just going to be like a flywheel, the price is going to fly up. That was their marketing strategy, which was a shit strategy. Let's face it, it's silly. It's not a strategy based on actually providing tools that have real use cases and actually grow the project based on that. So it was quite silly. But so I have no issue with kind of that was a ridiculous idea, but I have an issue with the thought that they were then dumping while people were buying, and they were telling people to buy Qubic, they were dumping their Qubic to make money. But also I want to say that they said here that anyone within these channels has a clear advantage, as any seasoned trader knows. They have an insider trading advantage. Now, I'm not saying any of these people were insider trading, but I guarantee you it happens in every crypto project. I guarantee you there are people insider trading, because you are able to see it's not regulated enough, and you are able to know in advance good things are going to happen, good news that's going to come out. You can buy it at lows and then be like, oh, this news is going to make a pump. When people are buying in, you're able to sell yours. So guaranteed, people are making a fortune out of this stuff, and guaranteed it's happening in Qubic, and guaranteed it probably happens in every other crypto project, or most crypto projects. Guaranteed it also happens with top companies all over the world. Like you take Google, Amazon, Meta, any of these companies, you or I are not allowed insider trade, but I guarantee you the guys at the top of those businesses probably know what's even happening in the whole economy of the world, and they're selling shares when people are buying, and they're buying shares when people are selling them. And insider trading is it's an illusion, and it's the thing that's it's an illusion in the crypto world that doesn't exist. And then it's a thing that it stops us small people insider trading, but the big guys in big companies inside trade as well. So then the last point that was interesting came from this guy, Peter. Seems like a cool guy. He runs the Qubic ecosystem Discord, a Discord that I want to say, again, I didn't give this a fair chance. I just saw a lot of people giving out in it, but now I see it's giving that more neutral perspective. I probably got stuck in a too biased a perspective when I was looking at Qubic. So it's an interesting Discord set up by this guy, and it's great. And I'd love to see even more Discords building like this, because they add to the discussion. I don't agree with everything that's said in this Discord, but I also don't agree with everything that's said in the official Qubic Discord. I'd love to see loads more Discords pop up, because it creates more decentralization and more nuance, and you can educate yourself more. But anyway, this guy, Peter, said that he talked about this Token 2049, which was an event that happened recently where some of the Qubic team went to this event and represented Qubic. And he said, I kind of worked out some numbers they shared, and it seemed like they'd basically what these guys did, they got a quorum vote. So let me just show you on this page. They went to the quorum and they made a proposal to go to this event, but the proposal got rejected, kind of a 50-50 proposal. And then Peter here started sharing that the guys then said that, look, guys, thanks to Wales, we're able to go. So he hinted that they got donations. That didn't really give much more clarity than that. And I think they've used that phrase before, but hinted that they got donations to go to this event. So the quorum rejected it, so they didn't get the money they requested, but they were able to go to it because thank God for the donations they got. So this guy then, Peter then said that to his surprise, he sees these payments be made from money that's supposed to be for operations and the ecosystem. So the quorum did give these guys money to spend on operations and did give them money to spend on the ecosystem. But Peter here is saying, and I don't even know how to track this, so I'm just trusting what he's saying here. And if I'm wrong, blame Peter, not me. But I trust that he's telling the truth here. Is he said that the money that was meant to be spent on operations and ecosystem, he saw those payments come true and paid for these guys to go to this event. Now, again, it's a nuanced thing. I believe that these guys think they're doing a good thing for Qubic going to this event, and they believed it was important, but they're not actually following the quorum. It's meant to be a decentralized vote. They're meant to do what quorum says. They're meant to spend the money the way the quorum asks. And did they fuck? No, according to Peter anyway. Did they fuck? They actually went and spent that money on going to this event when it should be spent on operations and ecosystem. So they weren't donations. They didn't respect the quorum's rejection, and they still used the quorum's money to go there. So they didn't follow the quorum's decision, and that's a sign of centralization and of avoiding the quorum's decisions and respecting them. And in a similar respect, we had something here would come from beyond. He put in a proposal and said that once Qubic hits a 51% total hash rate of Monero, will Qubic take complete control? I mean, it's more nuanced again than that. Will Qubic take complete control, or when they get hit to 51%? But basically, that's it. Once they hit 51% of the total hash rate of Monero, will Qubic just take complete control of that network and shut down all miners outside of Qubic? And the quorum voted yes. But then CFB said, he doesn't run code, so he doesn't have any computers, so he can't control the quorum's decision. But then he comes out and says, we decided the quorum voted to attempt to mine all blocks once 51% is reached because of money. Attacking Monero would lead to a price decline, because obviously if they attacked and took over Monero, the price of Monero would just decline dramatically, so less money would be earned. So obviously Qubic won't be attacking, which seems to make sense. Well, it does make absolute sense, is that it's not financially viable for Qubic to take over Monero because they're earning more money by not taking over Monero, and that's why they didn't do it. But the problem is, if there was a centralized vote to take over Monero and the quorum agreed on it, then who the fuck is CFB to say we can't take them over now? I mean, he doesn't. That shows it was centralized. It wasn't a decentralized decision. And the only way he should have done this is gone to the quorum again and appealed to them and said, I don't think it makes sense. Can we put this for another vote? And they could have voted again. So it kind of shows that was rubbish there. But back to token 2049, which I believe happened in Singapore. When you look at this quorum vote here, at the time, I think Qubic was floating around $2,500 per billion Qubic, and they asked for 32.6 billion Qubic. I mean, that is a lot, and the value of that, I think in dollar value at the time would have been around $75,000. They asked for it to go to this event, and that's why I presume it got rejected. That is a serious amount of money. Now, apparently this is a big event, but I mean, to say that going to this event would get you a return of $75,000 is hard to say. I mean, you could meet one person and have one networking with one person, and it could make it worthwhile. But it's hard to say that it was going to be worth that amount. And when you see the breakdown of why it costs this much, well, apparently the tickets and to run a 30-minute workshop costs almost $40,000. So I mean, this token 2049 must be raking in money for that. Then a side event, so they wanted to run a side event and invite 100 guests, but we didn't know who the 100 guests were, so they could have been anyone. So that cost $27,000. The media and promotion for it, $4,000. And the operational expenses, which I'm not sure what they would entail, would be $3,000. Now, I think they should have resubmitted that proposal. If that's what the token 2049 booth, tickets and workshop costs, then by all means, that's what it costs. But give us a breakdown and show us that it definitely costs that much. Remove the side event, because maybe that just wasn't necessary, and just get on the floor at the event and start talking to people and bringing them over to your booth. The media and promotion, I mean, Qubic already has a marketing budget, so I don't see why they would need $4,000 for the media and promotion. So that seemed unnecessary. And I'm not sure the operational expenses, maybe that was broken down in more detail, but I think that's a bit vague as well. And they said any leftover expenses they'd send back. Now, I feel there probably wouldn't have been leftover expenses. And they said the flight and hotel costs weren't included, so they were paying for themselves to do this. And they probably were, I don't know. But I feel like they could have resubmitted this proposal for half the cost and done this. And then when I see the money that they actually spent, I think it was way less than this. So it makes you question. The point here is maybe they're asking for way more inflated money than this actually cost, and it wouldn't have cost $74,000, because $39,000, $40,000 for a booth, tickets, and a workshop sounds mental to me. And then the last thing I have here is baby and bathwater, and I want this is the thing that I think Valis weren't good at, is what I want to make the point of is don't throw the baby out with bathwater here. I believe, and I'll keep reporting this stuff, I think there's a lot of information and a lot of things about Qubic and a lot of things that aren't done right. Like, there's definitely will be people insider trading here. There's definitely people taking advantage of the system. But I still think Qubic's a great project. I still think it can grow beyond these things. I still think most things in Qubic are positive. So just because some things are bad that are happening, there's going to always, in every company, you take Amazon, Google, Facebook again, there's going to be bad actors in there, people who are screwing over the system. But that doesn't mean you throw out everything with it. I still believe in Qubic as a really positive project. So I think that is worth highlighting too. Anyway, guys, I hope you found that insightful and interesting. That's all I've got for today, and I'll see you all on the outside.